Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood night. She comes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm Josh Guesman along with Cory Ritzau, and on today's show we're going to recap the LA Galaxy's draw with the Chicago Fire. The lineup was different. The Galaxy had an early lead, but everything fell apart quickly. Is this the turning point you were looking for? We're also going to talk about Robbie Rogers and the Facebook post that tipped off multiple league and team investigations, and we're going to let you know what the remainder of the schedule has for the LA Galaxy team. Finally, we're looking ahead to Saturday night's matchup with the struggling Vancouver Whitecaps. It's a packed show, so don't go anywhere. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com, and it all starts right now. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Now here are your hosts, Josh Guesman and Cory Ritzau. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Josh Guesman, Cory Ritzau with you. It was a less than thrilling trip to Chicago, a less than thrilling trip to New York City. The LA Galaxy come back with 1 point from 2 away games on a long road trip. Not a fun road trip there, Cory, but I think some Galaxy fans are panicking, and luckily for them, they have us to make sure that they're absolutely 100% panicking in no time.
Take a step off the ledge, just back it up a little bit.
I thought you were telling everybody to jump there for a second.
Jump?
Yeah,
maybe that's what I was saying. Maybe they already jumped.
They very well could have. That was absolutely it. But hey, Cory, how's it going? Good to talk to you again.
Yep, dad life going strong for the both of us, but it's fun to get away and talk some soccer, and unfortunately not the greatest quality of soccer to lay our eyes on to take away from real life this past, what was it, 4 days?
Yeah, it seems like that. Yeah, it hasn't been good soccer for the Galaxy, but it hasn't been in the last 5 games really. And I think I warned everybody. I did a Monday show. I had to do it by myself, which sometimes is good because you get full emotional. Nobody's there to like calm me down, Cory.
Emo Josh.
Yeah, you get emo Josh, and so he 100% dashboard confessional.
Put on some Modest Mouse and just rock out to the Galaxy.
Yeah, a little dashboard and some screaming infidelities, and you're good to go. But yeah, so that's sort of what happened on that show. And I said that if you felt confident about this LA Galaxy team going into Chicago and getting 3 points, then you were not watching the same games that I was. And everybody said, no, it's the last place team, Josh. It's the last place team. They're going to beat them. Of course they're going to beat the last place team, and they didn't. And you kind of felt that maybe they could, and the lineup, which we're going to get to in a second, Cory, that lineup could have beat that team. There's no argument about that lineup, even though no designated players started that game.
I mean, the thing is this is sort of like the 1B lineup, right? You're missing a few of your top stars. And so you'd think that the remaining 11 players that were on the field are the ones that are sort of, trying to etch out their place in the starting 11 once you enter back in some of the stars.
Right.
And so you'd have liked to have seen a better showing, because these are the people that are kind of competing against one another on the field to be included in the lineup once you head down the stretch run.
Right. Yeah. You think that?
And I don't think there was anybody really on the field other than a few people that we already knew of, like Van Dam or maybe Zardes, who you would have said,
They played themselves into that.
They locked down a certain position.
Well, I mean, you even look at it, and let's go over the lineup. Gyasi Zardes was up at the top. You had Emmanuel Boateng, Mike McGee, Sebastian Lletget, Baggio Hasidic, Jeff Laurentowicz, all through that midfield, which, by the way, I love Lletget and Boateng on opposite sides in this particular formation. Happy with that. Dave Romney, Jelle Van Dam, Daniel Steers, AJ De La Garza, and Clement Diop in goal again. On the bench, and the bench is an important part of this, was Dan Kennedy, Ashley Cole, Leonardo, Nigel de Jong, Giovani dos Santos, Alan Gordon, and Rafa Garcia. So a strong bench. Robbie Keane took a knock in training. All right, at least that's what the official announcement was. I think we're going to talk a little bit later that I heard an interview with Carl Robinson, who is good friends with Robbie Keane, and he said that Carl Robinson said that he talked to Robbie and he was dealing with a little bit of a groin issue, so we'll see whether or not that's true or if Robbie was leading him down a path. I would love to hear that Robbie was leading him down a path. That would be nice. That would be so much more fun for me. But I like Carl Robinson too, so it's fun. So you didn't have that. You had Steven Gerrard, who was rested because of squad rotation. All right, no surprises. Don't act surprised. Oh, they can't play 2 games, and no, they're not going to play. In the New York City Heat, in the middle, at 3:30 p.m. Corey, you had Steven Gerrard, you had Nigel de Jong, you had Ashley Cole, you had Robbie Keane, all these guys running their butts off on a little tiny field. In New York in the heat and humidity, and then you're going to put them in the heat and humidity, which I've heard was just as bad in Chicago at night. So all of those things take their toll. You knew you weren't going to get designated players to play. I mean, for the most part, you weren't going to get them. I thought Gio might start.
And that's fine. I mean, to be honest, you only have one more midweek contest the rest of the way down the home stretch until you get to the playoffs. And if you can avoid that, what is it, that if you can really get into, is it the top 2 places that get the
first round bye, I think?
They get the first round bye, so you don't have to play so many games, back to back to back. That's sort of the ideal, especially with an older team like the Galaxy. That's really the goal.
Right.
So there's not going to be too many more competitions from now to the end of the year where you're going to have to play, something like 4 games over the course of 12 days or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's not going to be. You're right. I mean,
you let them rest, and you give like what we talked about a second ago. You give some of these guys that are sort of these fringe players that are really trying to claw their way into cementing themselves for a starting lineup position.
Right, and so you get players like Boateng and Lletget. Listen, I wanted that energy. You need that energy from the guys. You're looking for something from Zardes. Remember, Zardes is playing with, basically a brace in his upper body right now, and so he's still not 100% after that. I think it was a muscle strain in his chest, all right? So he's still not 100% from that. He's wearing a brace.
I don't have any muscles in my chest.
Yeah, me neither. I have one in my stomach. No, that's just a beer belly. Nope, yep. I have no muscles. I'm good. But Zardes isn't 100%. He's still not, and you can sort of see that. Now, he scored a goal in this game, which was great, but he didn't do a lot for the goal. You want to give credit to somebody on the goal, and you look at Jelle Van Dam, who came just rampaging through the Chicago midfield, ran it all the way up and passed it off to Mike McGee.
Header.
Dude, the man, he can play. Let's see. Let's name the positions that Jelle Van Dam has basically played this year. We have him at central defense, no problems. He can play any of the outside wings on defense, no problem. He's played through the midfield whenever he goes and takes balls away, and he steps up high. So he's definitely a defensive and an offensive midfielder because we've seen him distribute from there. He has been almost a target man at times whenever he runs all the way up and he's into the offensive zone like he did in this Mike McGee thing. So he's basically playing a striker there.
He had a good game. He put 1 foot wrong.
And I'm not going to blame him.
Stop it. If that was against somebody in the Galaxy on the other side, you're screaming about it.
Oh, it's a foul. Absolutely, it's a foul.
It's not a yellow card. I would contend that it's definitely not a yellow card unless there was some sort of like persistent infringement that he was awarded. No, but in terms of the foul in and of itself, he accidentally kicked a guy because he made a good move and a good turn back into him. But it wasn't anything malicious, and the guy made a meal out of it. Yeah. And so you award the PK, but I don't know why you need to pull out a card.
Well, because he bumped the referee. He bumped.
Oh, I didn't see that part.
Yeah. So that's why. Yeah, that's why he got the yellow card. The referee
wasn't. Are we assuming that it's not anything worse, or was it just sort of like a?
It's close, but I don't think they're going to suspend him for it. I think he'll be fined. He's going to get fined, but I don't think they're going to suspend him for it. I think it's okay. Now, it very well could be. And if that's the case,
especially because he made a good call.
Yeah, it was the right call. He was listen, I understand Jelle being upset. Jelle can be upset at that. I mean, you're upset at one yourself because you kicked him and you know you kicked him. Like you said, it was a good move. It's one of those, I don't blame the defender because he didn't put himself in a horrible position despite what either of the announcers, Kobe Jones or Joe Tutino, says. I think Kobe Jones says he got on the wrong side of him, and it was like, it was a good play. He was in pretty good position. Can he just stand there and not worry about it? He might. He maybe doesn't have to dive in. But he kicked him. End of story. That
Too
whole
tempting.
thing. It is. And I've been there as a central defender. I've kicked people when right in that, and you're like, oh, man. And then you're mad. You're mad at yourself. So you're mad at all that. And then you're mad because the guy, flopped around like a fish, like he got shot, which didn't happen, by the way. It was good. It's fine. I have no problems with the penalty kick. I have the goal that was scored was the one before that. Remember, the LA Galaxy, really did well in the beginning of this game.
The second goal is what it is. It happens. People make good moves and get you on the wrong foot, and you make a mad step. But what happened with the first one?
It was.
I didn't see any comments in the after game, but did we get any comments about miscommunication? Who thought something was saying something to someone?
Yeah, you would think. Listen, it was a good ball. First of all, Chicago put in a good ball. There was a foul that wasn't a foul, but everybody thought it was going to be a foul, so everybody stopped.
I did see that.
Yeah,
so the line kind of maybe is off, but it looked like Sturris had an easy play on the ball and chose to let it go. Am I wrong?
No, it looks like that. And then Diop looks like he's also going to make a play on it, but doesn't quite get there. And the Chicago attacker, I don't remember, it was probably Deleu. I think he got a head on it. It may have been Solonak, I can't remember. But one of them got a head on it, and Diop actually made a save that went off of his hand and then hit AJ De La Garza in the forehead and then fell right to Acosta or Alvarez. Yeah, Alvarez. And Alvarez it was easy. It was a wide open goal. So do
you just chalk that up to Diop's a little green and there's a lack of communication there?
Yes, and also Sturris is still a little young and made a mistake and switched off for a second. I think he probably switched off for about a half a step. Hey, all right, we got a call coming in, which is good. So let's see what we have here. Actually, let's see. All right, let's see. We'll try to see if we can get that to. We'll try to see if we can get that call back here in a second. Sometimes Skype doesn't cooperate and doesn't let me add calls, so I apologize. If you want to try calling back again, I'll see if they'll actually let me add you here instead of dropping Cory. But anyway, yeah, listen, you don't worry about that, okay? You don't worry about some of those things. Those are things that are going to work themselves out. You had Diop and you had Sturris, and they turned off for a second, and they didn't communicate right, and that happens. It's still a poor way to give up a goal, regardless of the fact. So it goes 1-1, and then you give up the penalty kick, and it goes 2-1, so 2-1 at halftime. By the way, Cory,
you don't worry, but what's the prognosis right now on Rowe?
I still think, and I haven't heard anything from it, but I still think that he's not going to be ready for this Vancouver game. So I think Diop is going to be in there again, and that's still the correct answer, by the way. I know some of you said it. Diop made you nervous against Chicago. I agree. He had some mistakes. He had some shaky moments. He had a moment where, quite honestly, Chicago should have gone up 3-1 in this game and probably put the game away.
Yeah, he came out a little recklessly and took himself out of the play when he probably didn't need to.
Yeah, he has a tendency. Listen, watching enough LA Galaxy 2 games, Cory, he has a tendency to do that. That is one of his things that he needs to work on. Maybe punching the ball away is also one of those things that he needs to work on. But regardless of all of that, he's still probably the best answer right now besides Dan Kennedy. That's my take on it. And I think that you continue to go with Diop until Brian Rowe can get back, and then you put Brian Rowe back in there. All right? And
but it is cause for concern if it's, with all the concussion thing going on, you never want him to feel like he has to rush, but at the same time,
you need him back. You have nine games
in
left.
One game. You've already seen a pretty precipitous drop off.
Yeah, you have 9 games left. LA Galaxy have 9 games left. 5 home games, 4 away games. That's good. It's slanted in that direction. Obviously that one home game that's the difference will happen this Saturday against Vancouver, and we're going to talk about the schedule and what we think about points in the second segment as far as what the LA Galaxy could possibly get out of these games, because I think it's an important exercise to go through to understand a little bit of the gauntlet that the LA Galaxy are going to have to run through here coming up in the second half of or in the final third of this season. So it's going to be something interesting. But listen, we have some calls that called into the CoG hotline, so I want to play some of those because obviously there's some good ones here. So we have
angry ones. We like angry.
I think more or less it's people who just think I'm a genius. So I only play those ones actually. I like the ones where people think I'm an idiot
You
too.
save all of the ones that call you a genius as they come in, meaning both of them?
Yes. The 2 times that's happened since 2009, since we started. So let's start with Javi from Texas. Javi calls in all the time, and he wanted to leave this message, so here's Javi.
Hey, Josh, it's Javi in Texas. You seem to have crawled out from under my desk with my bottle of wine, and I've recovered enough to give a couple thoughts on the game. Man, they call it the dog days of August for a reason. It was really hot and humid. You could see it. The guys were dragging towards, minute 60. Sebastian, I really like Sebastian Zardes and Gio up top, but man, I wish I'd see that fire from Gio on every outing, but we really need him to step up and show that fire every outing. It was great to see Gordon too, get some important minutes. Where does it go from here? We really need to start picking up points, 9 points, or 9 games left in the season, and it's getting later and later, but looking around the league, everybody's drawing. It's August for everybody. It's hot for everybody. And, it doesn't look like we're losing ground. So I guess that's a silver lining aside from the obvious. Diop looked shaky. He made me nervous, and with good reason. He gets got cut out of position a few times. I mean, he's doing good. The guy's very talented, great reflexes, but yeah, he's got to improve some more. All right, man. Till next time. Thanks. Bye.
All right, there's Javi. So Gio, he liked the spark from Gio, and we didn't even get to talk about that yet, but Giovani dos Santos and Alan Gordon coming on in the second half in the 60th and 66th minute were good subs by Bruce Arena. I didn't like the Alan Gordon sub, but it turned out very well for him. And Giovani dos Santos.
Who'd have thought that, Alan Gordon would have been the one taking the ball down the line and chipping it back in for a diving Gio dos Santos.
Yeah, I will.
Usually it's the other way around, but very un-Alan Gordon-like.
Yeah, and I will tell you this, that I think Alan Gordon provided exactly something the LA Galaxy have been missing from any of their strikers, which is that short vertical movement that's able to unlock the back line and get those guys turned around and facing their own goal. I mean, that's what happened with Gio's goal there. Zardes scored a great goal in the first half. Giovani dos Santos basically had 2 goals in the second half. One of them was barely offside, but definitely offside, so, it was, and it was a good pass from Zardes. But this one from Gordo, it was so simple, it was easy, and you unlocked a defense by making them turn around and run, and I feel like the LA Galaxy are too sideways right now, Corey. They're running sideways, they're running backwards, they're doing everything, but just those little tiny, and I'm not talking, I say vertical movement, and I think everybody thinks like, long vertical runs up and down the seam. Yeah, you could do that too, but I don't necessarily need the long balls. So this was perfect.
2 or 3 steps in the seam, just get a burst and play the ball in behind, and then try and make something out of it.
And that's exactly what happened. So
I mean the biggest thing right now is that the Galaxy, and Bruce will tend to do this come September, is what is your choice lineup?
Yeah.
Who plays where?
Right.
And what is going to be the lineup that you have to play if you're in a cup final next weekend?
Yeah. I mean,
and I don't think they know that. I think obviously because Gio honestly refuses to work on the defensive end,
right,
you have to keep him up top.
Right.
In a perfect world, if you can convince him to work a little bit harder and get into better defensive positions, I think he has a better strength if he plays out wide. But I don't think you can trust him. And so because of that, you play Zardes on a wing and you play Gio up top with Robbie Keane. I would prefer the other way around, but I just don't see that, and he's too much of a liability in a big game to put him there.
Well, now you run into the worst problem that you could possibly have, is that Giovani dos Santos and Robbie Keane are the same player, so if you play them next to each other, they're going to try to take up the same space. And
on top of that, now you lose a little bit of the defensive pressure on the other team's back line, because when the other team has the ball, neither Robbie Keane nor Gio dos Santos are going to work their what's off. Yes. To try and force a turnover, put them in a difficult situation, and so the backline just has the opportunity to pick their heads up, knock the ball around, and then play a ball when they're nice and comfortable. And you get too many players, like you said, that replicate the same things. You take a lot off the plate in terms of defensive pressure and turning the ball over, and that's why other teams are out shooting them and out possessing them, and many of the other stats that we've talked about ad nauseum over the past few weeks.
Yeah, no, you're right. And so that is the problem. So, I mean, this was a perfect storm. Robbie Keane's injured, so you're able to play Gio. You don't play him as much because you're still trying to save him because he still has the young legs, so you're able to play him a little bit in this game, and then he'll be able to start this next game. I can think almost guaranteed for that. Bruce Arena is smart with the legs. Ben Olsen and DC United did the same thing. I'm tired of people discounting the fact that legs, regardless of age, get tired, and playing the heat and humidity through this August has just taken...
Sounders didn't even, who didn't they send? They didn't even send, was it Dempsey and Marshall to Houston?
To Houston, yeah, I think you might be right with that. But yeah, and they barely got an equalizer against Houston, who have been a struggling team. So they got it late in the game, so 1-1 draw there.
It's teams all across the league, especially when you play in an atmosphere like a Houston, like a Chicago, some of these Midwest places in August that, are just have to be hell on earth for a summertime soccer game.
It is. All right, let's get to another call. Here is Johnny from Pacific Palisades. By the way, I heard Johnny call in, and my question for Johnny is, can he just announce some of my life? Because I think you'll agree, Cory, when you hear that Johnny has some silky smooth undertones here with this particular voice here. All right, you ready?
Let's hear it.
All right, here's Johnny.
Oh, hi, Josh. It's Johnny Gray from Pacific Palisades. Hey, so I wanted to ask you, I think we're seeing the age issue playing out now, Robbie and Steven Gerrard and so on. And so I guess, what is the strategy you think Bruce should adopt for the rest of the season? Do we give up on the supporters' shield and, marshal our resources so that we just get into the playoffs and then we have everybody fit for that, even if that means some pretty disappointing results between now and then, in the run we've got? Or do we go all out, but, risk being too tired in the playoffs? Hey, anyway, interested in your thoughts. Thanks. Bye.
All right, what's your ruling?
So let's frame it in this way. I love the question. And typically the age thing is something that Bruce has always gone with, whether it's bringing in Jovan Karofsky or a Pat Noonan or some of these older veterans, Frankie Hayduck late in their career.
Eddie Lewis.
These are people that this is a strategy that Bruce has taken that has worked well for him, but at certain times it's frustrating. And I think we've taken for granted some of the people like Juninho and Marcelo Sarvis that have been able to be the young legs, the iron horses throughout the season that allow for some of the age to come on and play sparingly. And we don't seem to have those people this year. So it's an interesting question.
Yeah, I like the question though. I mean, he's right.
So here's the question.
Yeah,
There's 9 remaining games left in the MLS season. Steven Gerrard starts how many of the 9?
Oh, there's one midweek in there. So he's
one
out.
Wednesday, and the rest of them are all weekends.
Okay, so I think that he may miss the Wednesday game. We'll throw that one out. I think that possibly Robbie Keane and him could miss that Wednesday game. So let's throw that out.
At Salt Lake, which
Yes.
could be a big game because they're currently right above you in the table. But
Right.
I see what you're saying.
Okay.
They could potentially play Wednesday and then miss the following weekend or something.
They could, but Bruce doesn't seem to care about what game is when. He just
Fair enough.
He
All
just
right,
he
so-
goes. Okay, so
Steven Gerrard starts.
I think he
blank
gets.
out of 9.
I think he gets 7 out of 9. I think there might be another one, but I think he'll get the most of them. This is the Galaxy are now in this stretch.
And Nigel de Jong starts how many of the 9 games?
He should get all 9 as long as he's not suspended.
That is a huge as long as.
Yeah, I know. I think he'll get all 9.
And Robbie Keane starts blank of the 9.
8.
Okay, so you think that he's pretty much going to just find one lineup and he's going to try and, crack the whip on that because, it's something where, so then who is your lineup? Gyasi Zardes starts how many of the 9?
See, I'm thinking of what Bruce is doing, how he's going about it.
Because essentially what you're saying is Zardes or Gio, are they starting 8 of the 9, 7 of the 9, or are they starting 5 or 6 of the 9, kind of rotating them through?
No, I think what's going to happen. I think that Bruce thinks his best lineup is the one that has Robbie Keane up top, and then he floats Gio and Zardes underneath him on the wings, and he has that midfield with Gerard in it and De Jong.
Fair enough.
Right.
So then who, if you had a cup final tomorrow, who are you slating out right? Or out left?
For in the midfield. See, this one takes Sebastian Lletget and Emma Boateng out. Whenever Bruce plays,
no, not
this
out completely.
Yeah, it takes them out because you're gonna have Jeff Lorenowitz or Baggio Husidic sit with.
Why don't you play De Jong and Gerard side by side? Playing a little bit further down. So you're playing Gerard up on top of the triangle in midfield.
Yep.
And you're sliding. So I thought you'd put Gio just below in the midfield, and then make Gerard come down, as a midfielder, just in front of the back line.
No, see, I mean, the way Bruce seems to like this lineup, which is sort of let's see, what is it? It's the 4-2-3-1.
I just cannot
3-1. Yeah.
So he talks about the age of midfield.
Yep.
You're now talking about a spine of your team of De Jong, Lorenowitz,
Gerard,
and Keane, which are averaging 34 years old,
probably. Nigel's one of the youngest guys there, so that's a good thing for Nigel.
And you bring in the first person off the bench becomes Baggio Husidic, who is not a spring chicken either.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody who's trying to call in on Skype, I apologize. Skype is not letting us add your calls into the live show, so that's why you're not getting answered. So I apologize. It's one of the weird things of Skype.
We still love you.
We still love you. I apologize. If you want to call in to a number, the COG hotline number 949-385-2641, there's an answering machine there, and we can get to your questions maybe in the second half here. So do that, 949-385-2641. All right, yes. So yes.
So do you like that lineup, that strategy? What would you rather? You go more straight 4-4-2?
I would probably go 4-4-2, but that also means
then who do you put out on the right? You've got Boateng, you've got McGee, you've got Lletget. Who do you play on the other side?
You put Lletget on the right. Listen, okay, here's the real problem is I think the lineup that works the best right now is one that Bruce won't play because it takes 2 designated players and it puts them on the bench. Why would you do that, right? That's crazy. You can't do it. But I think Robbie Keane and Steven Gerrard don't fit into the 4-4-2 with the other personnel with the best lineup. I think the best lineup the LA Galaxy have right now is Gyasi Zardes, Giovani dos Santos up top. You can stack Zardes in front of Gio, all right, and let Gio come back and play that with John Striker. You
just benched Robbie Keane?
Yeah, I did, but it's going to happen sooner or later, so it might as well happen now. So that all happens there. Very well could happen again in Vancouver.
We'll talk about him at the next segment with some of his news and things that he announced and what we think about the future. But
exactly.
Okay.
So there, and then your best team.
So then who do you play in front of De Jong?
With De Jong, so I don't put anybody in front of. They play side by side, and you can put Lorenowitz there, you can put Baggio Husidic, or you can put
those are both
Mike
terrible
McGee.
options. By the way,
they are, but there's nobody else who can play in that position. You can put Gerard there.
That midfield is not going to get you very far.
But you don't with this midfield. Whenever you put Lletget out on the right and you put Boateng out on the left, then you have the width and the speed around the outside to create that offense for you that you may be lacking in the midfield there. You can put Gerard next to De Jong in this 4-4-2, but we know what happens is he has to be more defensively responsible, and that's a problem. So and then Nigel De Jong has to push and get out of his position in front of the back four, and that weakens the defense.
Which is precisely why they've gone to that triangle midfield of the three in the center.
There you go. So you see, listen, you and I have
but that's gosh.
I know it's horrible. What are you going to do though?
Get rid of Gerard and Keane next year?
I mean, there's something to that. Listen, Robbie Keane can still be a great sub for the LA Galaxy. I know people are just throwing stuff at whatever device you're listening on right now. Josh, how could you possibly do that? It's Robbie Keane. Yes, it's Robbie Keane. He's injured right now. He has an orbital fracture. He may have a groin injury as well. He's older. I love the man and what he has done for the LA Galaxy. Yes, absolutely salute him and be happy that he has been able to do all these things for the LA Galaxy over the years, but do not keep putting him in a position right now where he is not moving as well as he was. He's not as quick. He's not generating the shots. He can still finish.
So do you think? So what you would do down the stretch is you would shuttle in Gio and Robbie in and out, give them a little bit of rest, and make sure they have fresh legs come the playoffs.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
If Josh were the coach.
Yep. Now here's the other thing is that there's still a possibility that the LA Galaxy could possibly get that sort of 4-3-2-1 or 4-2-3-1 to work for them, because it has. But right now, with the way that Keane is sort of not really that striker, that target man up top, Corey, that's a problem, because that's what you need. So you need more Zardes up there, and you're going to move Keane out to the side? You're not going to move Keane out to the side.
No.
It just rotates. And then Giovani dos Santos doesn't provide any defensive cover for AJ De La Garza, which is what you saw in the New York City game. All right? And then everything falls apart real quickly. So anyway, all right. Well, listen, we already got to take a break. I love it when this happens, because that's good. I'm glad we're talking. And maybe while we're here at the break, I can try to fix.
Everybody, go clean up while we take a break. Go clean up your living rooms, because I know you've thrown some pillows. You've thrown the remote control while Josh is talking. So
Yes.
Go, just collect yourself, clean up the room, and we'll see you on the other side of the break.
Absolutely. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Don't go anywhere.
Take me to your place. No, it's not too late to turn a scream into a whisper. Loveless and annoyed. Let me fill the void. Show me what I've been missing.
Hey, everybody who's watching our live show right now. We are doing our best to correct a Skype issue so that way you guys can call in, because we see that we're getting calls. So hang in there tight with us just for a second. And, of course, while you're waiting, cornerofthegalaxy.com/shop is where you can get all of our great stuff, including this wonderful yellow Van Damme pen. All right, cornerofthegalaxy.com/shop. We'd really appreciate your support. Thanks. And once again, just working on a Skype update as we're actually doing this. So I'm waiting for it to download. As soon as that happens, we're going to go ahead and run right back into the show. Sometimes this happens during the live shows. So I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of behind the scenes here. Corey's actually offline while I try to download Skype. So we'll see if that works and fixes the problem. And if it does, then you guys will be able to call in live. So again, we appreciate your patience, and we're still going to have 30 minutes of Corner of the Galaxy whenever we come back from this break. So again, head on over to the shop if you get a chance. Other than that, we'll be back here in just a second.
Ready for some more Corner of the Galaxy? Don't forget to head over to the website for all the latest podcasts, news, and more. Visit us online at cornerofthegalaxy.com.
Hey, this is Chris.
This is Eddie.
This is Jason.
And we're from Back Pocket Memory, and you're listening to Corner of the Galaxy.
Welcome back to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Josh and Cory back with you once again. All right, couldn't fix any of our technical issues with Skype because sometimes Skype is just, a pain in the butt for being a free service. But nonetheless, is what it is. We're glad to have you all back, and we have a lot more LA Galaxy talk to get to as well. And Cory, we didn't even get to finish really our calls either, so I want to get to Matt from Santa Clarita, mostly just because Matt says that I'm a genius. So here is Matt to start out our second segment.
Be prepared to clip that sound.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't worry, I've got this saved.
Hey, Josh, this is Matt from Santa Clarita, and I just wanted to comment on all the things that you've been speaking about. They're absolutely right. We have no gelling in the midfield. It seems like we can't put together a formation where we can hold on to the ball and win in that midfield to even convert into the third and final part to score goals. I look at it as we're one of the best defensive teams, in MLS, but it almost feels like that comes at the cost of having a four-back line with a very defensive-minded, Nigel de Jong, and then no one's really moving forward. Combine that with the fact that, like you said, Dos Santos doesn't like to drop back and defend. We almost play everyone on the front line that's attacking and everyone on the back line, and we lose that ball in the midfield. And I really feel, looking back, that that's where we keep getting destroyed.
All right, so there's Matt's main point there, and I think that, by the way, being he said I'm a genius, I'm going to agree with him that he's 100% right. We just talked about it.
Josh's new ringtone.
That's right, exactly. You just said it, Cory. You and I were discussing the same thing that Matt is just saying, is that the weak point here is the midfield. Kind of no matter how you do it, the spine of the midfield is meh at best.
He's calling it a problem with them gelling. I just think they're old. I don't think any of them can cover the type of ground that we're used to seeing when. For 3 years, we got to see Gyasi and Zardes patrol the center of the pitch, and a little bit spoiling, but especially when you get through August and you've got games in New York and Chicago and all of these different things, the legs aren't what they used to be, and they're not going to be able to cover the type of ground that we are typically used to seeing for the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, and that I think is what it is. He's right; it's not gelling, but and you're right, Cory, because they're old and we're just. They lack speed. That's why I think I love Sebastian Lletget and Boateng in there.
That's exactly what we talked about earlier. Bruce has gone to that three man triangle because it's the only way to occupy that type of space. But then you can see possession around on the outside, and that's why the shot totals and passing totals are what we've seen.
That's absolutely right. All right, let's go to a call that came in on our COG hotline during the break. I believe this is going to be Scott, so let's go ahead and play Scott's call. And again, these haven't been edited. I have no idea what Scott's going to say.
It's frightening.
So I know, it is. So here we go. Here's Scott. He says,
Josh, what's up, man? This is Scott. Been trying to call in, and my iPhone tells me that the line is busy, and then you on my computer screen tells me that Skype isn't working.
Right.
So you told me to call this line, so I did. What's up, Cory? Anyways, we're talking about all these, 72-year-old midfielders that we have to rotate, over the last 4 games of the season, the 4 games that go over about, the next 7 months, and then we have to, conserve the guys over that time. Anyways, my question is, what's the point of the Galaxy season? Is the point to just have everyone rested and have a decent playoff seed when the playoffs start in November? So everyone is kind of not too tired and we kind of have a 3 or a 4 seed, that home midweek playoff game, because we're not good enough to get the 1 or 2 seed because Colorado and Dallas keep winning games and we can't do that. So what is the point of being a Galaxy fan if we're just going to punt on a good third of the games throughout the season and hope that we get a decent home game in the playoffs? Whereas last year we tried that strategy and it failed and we got an away game against Seattle and we lost. So anyways, Josh, answer that question, and you're the man and Cory's the man. Bye.
There we go. All right, Scott calling. I love when Scott calls, by the way. It's still some of my favorite time ever.
Absolutely.
He's got it. Yeah, I like his 70 year. I always love how in Scott's mind it has morphed into like 72-year-old midfielders, which I know he is the king of hyperbole, and I love him for that. And that's one of the things. But yes, lots of people are rotating their midfielders who have to do the most work, who get the most miles on their legs, and all that stuff. And he is right as well, though.
So what's your answer?
What is the point of his question is, what is the point of the season for the LA Galaxy? Is it to win everything, which is what they state it is, right? And if that's the case, Scott's big gripe, by the way, that we've had many conversations about is, why don't the LA Galaxy play younger players, sign younger players as designated players instead of these older guys? I don't know the answer to that. It's a good. I get where he's coming from. I don't want to discount his point, because
Here's my direct answer to his question.
Go.
2012.
Yes, 2012. Scrape into the playoffs, win the whole dang thing.
They just become the Western wildcard team at West number 4. They beat Vancouver in an ugly.
barely beat
I think Vancouver
yeah.
went up 1-0, and you come back and you win 2-1.
Right.
And you just slowly outgrind each of the other teams along the way. And you happen to get lucky that the Dynamo somehow makes it through, and you're the only team in the entire playoffs that you have a better record than.
And you host MLS
makes
Cup.
It out of the East, and you hope MLS Cup.
Yep, I know.
I mean, that's obviously not something that's going to happen very often.
Yeah, you can't count on it.
No, you definitely can't. But at the same time, I think that that's an argument to be made for making sure that you have a team that is well equipped to handle the rigors of a playoff run. And you could argue perhaps at the expense of a few of these games, but at the same time, I think one game a week for 6 weeks
should be okay. These guys are going to play.
You're not going to have to rest them if they're playing midweek contests in October in LA.
Yeah, this is where no CCL.
Or, excuse me, not midweek. One game a week contest. So I think that I think we've sort of reached that tipping point that once we get through that midweek game, like I think is about 2 weeks from now. Once we hit that point, you've got about 6 games in a row that happen either every Saturday or every Sunday.
Right.
And I think Bruce starts to shorten his bench and just go with the people that he feels most comfortable with, and really just sort of cracks the whip on that team and gets them hopefully firing on all cylinders. And that would equal to some 3-point games along the way. And, if it's a 2, 3, 4 seed, go from there.
Yeah, listen, Colorado and Dallas haven't completely run away with everything. So,
do you think in a 2-legged contest against Colorado that the Galaxy would not be able to come out on top against that?
I think they could. I think 2 legs against Dallas, they could. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Dallas didn't scare me whenever they brought their A team and the Galaxy played their B team, and the Galaxy should have won that game in the U.S. Open Cup semifinal there.
So I don't think Bruce Arena's scared of that either.
Okay, here we go.
You'd love to have enough points to host MLS Cup should you get there.
Right.
And the way that the East are playing right now, that's helpful. But you got to at least try and have more than the top team or two in the Eastern Conference, so that should you get to that point, that'd be great. But I don't think any of the teams over a 2-leg, home and home, scare the Galaxy.
Yeah, not on the Western Conference. A 1-game, 1-off game, anybody can win. So, home field does matter in that. I would like to see the LA Galaxy hosting their MLS Cup because it makes travel to MLS Cup very easy for me. All right, let's get to our final call that we have here. Again, haven't edited it. We just got it in, so let's go ahead and play it. I think this person raises some good questions, so here we go.
Hey, Josh. This is Raul up in Visalia. Just real quick, I just wanted to say, what happened to all our youth? What happened to Lassiter, to Jameson, to Mendiola, to McBean? They were supposed to be the future, but McBean's gone, and now you don't hear anything about Lassiter or Jameson, and Mendiola never gets to play. So that's just my question. So have a good day. Thanks.
All right, so that's good. Raul, good. Thank you for calling in. Good friend of the show, Raul. There. Listen, he has some points. I'll give you all the updates I can on everybody. We know that Jack McBean is off with third-tier Coventry City in the English pyramid of soccer over there. That's good for him. That's going to help him develop. They sent him over there to develop because I really think that there's a good chance that he becomes a fixture in 2017 for the LA Galaxy, taking over for sort of Alan Gordon as Gordon sort of rides off into the sunset here. So I think Jack McBean is good. We've seen Mendiola. You've been clamoring for him to come up, and I think he's one of the next guys to really make a splash on the first team. Diop is one of those guys as well who made a splash on the first team. So I think Raul Mendiola is the next guy to sort of make that jump because he's a small player, but he plays big, unlike some of the smaller players who play small. Lassiter, Jose Villarreal. Lassiter was injured. He's back playing now, so that's good news. Jameson was injured. He's back playing. Lassiter was injured. He had a back injury. He's back playing now. Those guys are coming, but those injuries took time away from their development, so they're in LA Galaxy 2. They're getting stronger. So that's where the hiccup is right now. I just went back and watched the very first Vancouver game where the LA Galaxy traveled up to Vancouver, Corey, and you had Ariel Lassiter play in that game. You had Bradford Jameson in the fourth. Yeah,
I think by himself.
Yeah, I think he was up top by himself. This was the game the LA Galaxy went up a man in like the 30th minute or something like that, or maybe a little later than that when Mike McGee got cleated, 2-foot cleated by Matias Laba there, and they couldn't score. It ended up 0-0. So, those guys are there. Just you can't depend right now on young players. So don't just heap this on some of these young guys.
Look, simple economics means that the amount of spots they have for them are so limited.
Right.
Whether you may view them as a little bit better or perhaps equal to some of the other teams, but they're not going to get a playoff spot over a guy like Giovani dos Santos who's getting $1 bajillion a year.
That's why you don't bench any designated players either, according to Josh. How you should do it is because you're paying too much stuff for these guys. All right, let's move on now to some LA Galaxy news, and we got a lot to get to. I just want to point out August 27th versus Vancouver Whitecaps. This Saturday's game is Luca Knows Heart night. All of the stuff that they're doing around this benefits the Los Angeles Ronald McDonald House through a sale featuring scarves, armbands, T-shirts, and bracelets. As well, they're also having a dental care drive. This also been, yeah, I know. I was going to say, Corey, come on, kick in some stuff, all right?
I can do that.
Corey's wife is a dentist, by the way. If anybody needs their go ahead, do a quick commercial.
A quick commercial.
Yes.
South County, anybody in South Orange County that needs a dentist, give me a call. Hit me up on Twitter at Cory Ritzau, and I got the best dentist in the world for him.
She's amazing. Really, really nice. It's Corey's wife, so I won't say anymore. But you would.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah,
easy.
I was gonna say. Anyway, but go dental care drive. Bring floss. Bring toothpaste. Bring toothbrushes. All unopened, please. Just have a little bit of dignity there. All right, let's do that. And bring that to the drive as well. So there, that goes. Let's talk about Robbie Keane real quick. This is going to be quick because we still have so much to get through, and I'm looking at all the stuff that we have to talk about still. Robbie Keane announces his international retirement. All right, so no more playing for Ireland for Robbie Keane after this end of August game.
This is like his send-off, right? What do you expect he's going to get how many minutes in that game?
I don't know if they start him.
Is he really? No, you do start, and that's how it works, right? Like Landon Donovan, right? You get like 30 minutes, you get like 40 minutes, or maybe you get 60.
Yeah.
And then you pull him off to a standing ovation, and everybody applauds, and he rips the armband off and cries and gives everybody a big hug.
Yeah, exactly. And this is against Oman. It's in Dublin, so it's the perfect place to do it. But this is an 18-year Irish national team career that comes to an end. 145 appearances, 67 goals. He was the world's active goal scorer. He was the world's most active goal scorer.
International
goal scorer. So he had 67 goals. He now comes off and ends that. This means that basically he said it in his address, his very long thing, which you can find on cornerofthegalaxy.com, where we wrote an article about it, is that he says that, really now he wants to focus on his club game. Even Carl Robinson was talking about Robbie Keane, and he said that he talked to him because he wanted to obviously talk to him about his retirement from the Irish national team. And he says, don't worry about Robbie Keane. He'll focus on his club career, and he'll be here for the next couple of years. So whether or not that's what the LA Galaxy is certainly going to be an interesting thing to follow, but it's now more of a focus. So Robbie Keane will not lose any more games due to Ireland, except for this last one, Wednesday, August 31st, 2016, when Ireland takes on Oman. All right, so there you go. Now we go on to some of the controversy that has swept through the USL, swept through MSL. Wow. It's one of those days. I know. And swept through MLS as well.
It was a rookie mistake.
It was. I don't know what's going on. But Robbie Rogers posted on Facebook after he had a rehab assignment with LA Galaxy 2, where they were down in Orange County facing off of the Orange County Blues. He basically came out, and I know a bunch of you have seen this Facebook post, but if you haven't, he said basically that he was verbally abused by a player from the Orange County Blues, and he doesn't name that player. And using homophobic slurs basically towards Robbie Rogers in the last 15 minutes of the game. The Facebook post goes on to sort of show how Robbie Rogers, responded, and he talked it through and a whole bunch of things. He says he's mostly proud of himself. I'm proud more than ever that I had the courage to come out as a gay man, and I feel so fortunate to have gotten to share my story with others and to have gotten to play this sport I love so much as an openly gay person. So you have to read his statement. He didn't name any names. Obviously, this cued off a whole big firestorm. USL came out and issued a statement, I believe, the very next day, and it says, the USL has begun a full investigation into allegations of homophobic slurs directed at a player during last night's Orange County Blues FC versus LA Galaxy 2 game. The USL has zero tolerance for any discrimination or any discriminatory behavior. All right. So it went on for a couple days. We knew that the LA Galaxy, that Orange County Blues, or at least by a lot of reports, the Orange County Blues were launching an investigation. USL, MLS, and possibly the LA Galaxy also launched an investigation as well. They call them formal investigations, the whole deal. This is what happens from USL in the statement that follows. It basically says the United Soccer League, the USL, has suspended Orange County Blues FC midfielder Richard Chaplow for 2 games and fined him an undisclosed amount for offensive and abusive language directed at another player during the team's game against the LA Galaxy 2 on August 20th. All right. The suspension was determined following the USL Disciplinary Committee's investigation into the matter that included a video review, speaking with a referee, as well as players and staff from both teams. Jeffrey Carlisle came out and did some great reporting and talked to some people at USL, basically some sources that he's had. And basically he said that the USL and the teams found no evidence that Chaplow had actually said these homophobic slurs to Robbie Rogers. They suspended him because he said and admitted that he used the F word and the 4-letter F word. We have to be a little clear on that. The 4-letter F word towards Robbie Rogers, and that is what he said. He called him. And then whether or not you say, hey, players say the F word all the time, the 4-letter F word all the time, and they don't get suspended for it. And it's because it was directed at a player. It's called abusive language. You can't say it at referees. Technically, you're not allowed to say it to players. They do all the time. But because he admitted to it, there was a suspendable offense. They suspended him for 2 games. All right. Chaplow has said that he completely denies it, that he didn't say that. He said that he was using strong language towards Robbie Rogers, but that he doesn't use homophobic slurs. There's a statement from him and from the team that basically, go through all of that. All right. Here's where it comes down to lots of things. People are starting to go off a little bit on the Cory. I filled you in on all this right before the show and sort of went over it. And I think the main point that I was trying to get to you is that there's no evidence that he said these things. This is a USL game. It's not a Major League Soccer game. No, there weren't 7 cameras and field mics that picked up on all this stuff. There's 1 or 2 cameras, and usually not field mics, and it's poorly shot. It's shown on YouTube. I mean, you guys, this is the production quality of USL. It is what it is. The referee didn't note anything in his referee's report, according to Jeffrey Carlisle, who had all this stuff. They're saying that, I would imagine, Cory, you and I were talking about this, that there was basically no way to corroborate what Rogers said outside of probably his teammates said that they agreed with Robbie Rogers, and the Orange County Blues teammates probably said that they agreed with Chaplow, and that's sort of where it is, and it's a stalemate, and they bump their heads together, and it seems unfair, right, Cory? I mean, you want to trust that Robbie Rogers didn't just put a Facebook post out there for nothing.
It's certainly unfair to Rogers if in fact that took place, and if in fact you wonder, was there any sort of miscommunication in terms of what somebody perceives as being said versus what is actually said? The way that Rogers chose to frame it in terms of depicting the story of what took place, I think he even says it, and you have it posted on here somewhere. Has it happened multiple times?
Yeah, multiple times and directed at him. Yeah.
So he's not mincing. He's in his story of how he's depicting it. Doesn't seem to suggest that it was something that slipped out.
Right.
That unfortunately, having grown up the product of the age that I am, I can't say that I've never used that type of language when I was in high school or something like that. I think now, as a 30-plus-year-old individual, I've like to think I've gotten past that. But in a moment of passion, if I would have said something like that had never slipped out in a former life, I would be lying.
Right.
But the way that he seems to spell it out in the story seems to be say that it was very much intentional and that it happened over and over again. And it may not be that anybody could corroborate. It could be you're lining up on a corner kick and you're jostling for position and you're whispering sweet, horrible nothings into his ear so that nobody else could hear.
Yeah.
And at that point, you just have to say, that person is a terrible individual, and he's not going to get punished for it. But at the same time, life isn't fair, and he has to live with himself as being the perpetrator of that act, and you have at some point have to walk away and try and be the bigger person.
Yeah.
Now that is easy for me to say.
Totally. I was going to say, yeah.
I do not know what it's like to go through the persecution of something like that. I am a privileged white male with all the different amazing things going for me, so it is so incredibly easy for me to say. But at the same time, in terms of how do you legislate that, becomes incredibly, incredibly challenging, and discipline going forward is nearly impossible.
Yeah, I was going to say, this isn't the main point I wanted to get at is that this isn't some conspiracy. USL didn't do this. They suspended them because I believe
it's like they wanted to somewhat save face that they were kind of cracking down, maybe even set an example for anybody in the future without admitting that anything actually took place. It's sort of it makes me uncomfortable the way that they chose to handle it.
I say it's differently than that. Here, let me give you my take on it.
Let me hear you.
Is that I think that they believe it happened. Because I don't think Robbie Rogers just all of a sudden, he hasn't done this ever before. It's not like Robbie Rogers does this after every game.
After however, what was it, 4 years, 5 years, this is the first time we've ever heard of something, leads me to believe that he didn't just have a bad night and wake up and decide to go and falsely accuse someone.
Exactly. So I believe Robbie Rogers, and I believe that USL believes Robbie Rogers, and I believe that almost all the parties in this believe that, but there's no proof. And that sucks. Because if you're Robbie Rogers, that probably hurts even more, the fact that you you make the complaint and that it comes to nothing. All right, but there's no conspiracy here. I don't think USL is trying to sweep this under the rug. I think that they would have liked to been able to put their foot down on it.
Since I can't hit you on that, I'm just going to find something to get you at just to show that
we're paying attention. Yeah. I don't know. It's a horrible situation. I'll leave it at that. It's a horrible situation.
USL's in a terrible spot because if they don't act, then they're, and they just released a statement, we don't condone behavior, blah, 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 without any sort of follow-up, they're put in a tough spot. But at the same time, you can't just go around looking for the little things to just take out of proportion just because there's rumors of certain things taking place. I mean, I don't want to question Robbie's integrity in any way, shape, or form, but could this be used in the future to somebody else's benefit by making other accusations and kind of going from there?
It could. You never know. But I mean, in this case, it seems absolutely 100% genuine by Rogers. I feel horrible that the situation even comes. And unfortunately, it seems like it's going to stay out of there. I guaranteed there is going to be a microscope on Mr. Chaplow for the rest of the season, for his rest of his career in USL. So we'll see. It's not. You needed some proof. You needed some video evidence. You needed something. But the referee would have wrote it down in his report. I'm sure they talked to the referee. If the referee would have heard it, I think that would have done it. That could have done it. But it just seems like all that stuff just sort of happened, and he's gonna get away with it if that indeed happens. So anyway. Onward and upward. We're going to go a little bit longer tonight. I can tell you that already. Only 9 games remaining in the season. There's 5 home games, 4 away games, Corey. We talked about this before. I want to know, and we're going to go over every single game right now. You and I are going to do it. We're going to take how many points we think the LA Galaxy can get from these games. All right, so we have 9 games, and we're going to start with the home game with the Vancouver Whitecaps. We won't preview it. Vancouver Whitecaps on Saturday. The LA Galaxy, how many points do the LA Galaxy get out of that?
I'm going to go with 3 points.
All right, so a win for Cory, a win for Josh. That one's easy. We go to Saturday at home, September 3rd, versus the Columbus Crew. How many
the
points?
Bottom-dwelling Columbus Crew. They're a wreck this year. I'm going to go with 3 points on that one.
And a win for Josh as well. So we got 2 wins. Here we go. Away to Real Salt Lake. This is the last midweek game. It's a Saturday at home versus Columbus. Then you go midweek Wednesday game at Salt Lake. What do you have there, Cory?
0 points.
0. So a loss for Cory, and Josh gives them a draw because the Galaxy don't lose that many games, and he's got some other ones that are coming up. All right. So here we go. Home to Orlando. Orlando City comes in Sunday, September 11th. What say you, Cory? How many win, lose, draw? What do you got?
Win.
Yes, and Josh has that as a win as well. Away to Sporting Kansas City on Sunday, September 18th.
Draw.
Josh has that as a loss. All right. Yeah, I know. Don't worry. I'm getting
Where
there.
are they in the table? They are just behind them.
Yeah.
With a few games in hand, but right behind them.
Yeah, right behind them. Okay, so Sporting Kansas City. Okay, then you come home to host the Seattle Sounders Sunday, September 25th.
Don't hate me for this. I'm going to go with a draw.
Okay, I am going to say... Let's see, I'm trying to remember what I had. I went over these already. I'm trying to remember. Let's see. We did.
You wonder if they're still inspired. They've maybe made a run. They're a little bit close.
Right.
Not completely out of the playoff race. They seem to have turned some things around. If they hit a bad patch in form over the next 3 or 4 games and they're pretty much out of the contest, then maybe you get a defeated Seattle Sounders team and you
can run
get
over
3
them,
points. But I'm nervous because a bajillion people get into the playoffs.
Right.
That they're still going to be within touching, within an arm's reach of the playoff spot.
Hey, they're almost there. Yeah, they're almost there right now as it stands.
Right.
All right, I'm going to say right now that they get the win there against Seattle at home. I'm confident about home games for the most part. Away to Dallas.
I hate this game because
it's Dallas and wacky things happen in Dallas.
Wacky things, so that is a loss.
That's a loss for me as well. Sunday away at Houston.
That is coming off of an international break, which Robbie Rogers will not travel to. You probably you won't lose Gyasi Zardes, but he probably will have played in some World Cup qualifiers and is then coming back. I'm going to go actually with a win.
And
I think that Houston will be out of the playoff picture, won't have much to play for, so I'm giving them 3 points.
All right, I give them a win as well, and then home to FC Dallas.
I'm going to go with a draw. I think that potentially there won't be much at stake to play for in terms of seeding. And sometimes how it shakes out, I'm not sure. Sometimes they end up having to turn around and play like the next Wednesday or Thursday immediately thereafter for the playoff run. So you may see a less than inspired Galaxy team coming out that game if seedings have already somewhat been locked down.
All right, I'm tallying up here real quick. Let's see, 2 losses and 2 draws. All right, we're not that far off. In fact, whenever I did these, I came up with, I think, like what is likely and what is sort of best case. So, Cory, you have the LA Galaxy over the last 9 games going 4-2-3, 15 points.
Okay.
All right, not bad. I don't hate that.
Out of 9, so that's if my math is any good, that's like a 1.66 or so points per game, which is actually above their current points per game rate at the moment.
Okay, so I went, and I have one more win than you. I took a draw away, and I gave it as a win, right? So I'm 5-2-2. We both have them at 2 losses, which, by the way, the LA Galaxy only have, 3 losses on the entire year or 4 losses on the entire year? I always have to go back.
New York City made 4.
Yeah, so 4 losses on the
12
entire year.
draws.
Right, so they're going to get 6 losses the entire. They're not going to lose at home.
I should just pick a draw all the way across the board the way this team goes.
I know, 17 points. Okay, so I went 5-2-2 for 17 points.
Almost
you have 15
2 per game.
Yeah, so you're right there. I don't think either of those are unreasonable, by the way. I think there's a couple of those games that could go either way.
There's nothing wrong with a 55 to 57 point season.
No.
I guess they've obviously increased the number of games that they've played, but for many years, a 50 plus point season was good enough to be a top 2 or 3 team in the league.
Yeah, and it was, and I still think that you're going to be real close. I was going to try to bring up the 2015 standings for the LA Galaxy. 51 points was their total last time. All right, so last year they finished with 51 points in 5th place in the Western Conference. So that's sort of just to give you an idea of all the point totals and where they are. So the LA Galaxy currently sit at 39. So it would put them at, Corey, do math for me, 39 and 15.
If for me, it would be
40.
54. You had them at 56.
56. So they would be better than last year. You watch, they have a bunch of games against that first place FC Dallas.
The worry, though, and I think the Galaxy are a little scarred from this, is Galaxy got hot middle of the year and then just fizzled out towards the end of the year.
July.
Galaxy have just sort of been, haven't really had a hot streak, but haven't really, they've got 12 draws. So every time, how many points have they given up late in the games?
It's
nothing
a couple
entirely to get excited about.
Yeah, 2 of the losses, by the way, for the LA Galaxy were losses like in the last seconds of the game. So
the Colorado game was the brutal one,
and Montreal was brutal as well, right through Brian Rose's hands from Didier Drogba. All right, let's get to this game now. The LA Galaxy will face off against the Vancouver Whitecaps at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, August 27th, 2016. This game can be found on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet and Time Warner Cable Deportes. The last game for Vancouver was Tuesday versus Sporting Kansas City. Try to keep these in order, okay? Because they played Sporting Kansas City twice in a row, but one was for CCL, which was this last game they played on Tuesday where they won 3-0 at home. And then the previous league game was last Saturday where they went to Sporting Kansas City and lost 2-0. All right, one of those lineups is sort of their A-team lineup, which lost 2-0, and one of those lineups was the CCL B-team lineup, which is where they won 3-0 at home. Listening to Carl Robinson talk, he is going to have his guys come out and play. Carl Robinson is one of those players and one of those teams who Vancouver actually will come into StubHub Center and try to play with the LA Galaxy because, as Carl Robinson said, if you try for 1 point, a lot of the times you get 0, so we'll try for 3, and if we end up with 1, we'll sort of be okay. Which, again, I think is a good model here, but they've been struggling. I believe they are on a 3 or 4 game losing streak. Let's see. Whitecaps FC returned to league play in Galaxy match with 4 consecutive losses in MLS matches. Their winless streak is now at 6 league games following that 2-0 loss at Sporting Kansas City on Saturday. All right. So this is a struggling Vancouver team. They're looking to get a foothold. Historically, they have not had a lot of success at StubHub Center. They got their first win at StubHub Center last year. The LA Galaxy could very well they could take the season series with Vancouver, which Galaxy have been sort of shaky on some of these season series. They could take it from Vancouver. This is a chance for them to sort of regain their footing, Corey. I don't know if Robbie Keane's going to be available. That's sort of a question mark. Don't know if Brian Rowe is going to be available. I think he is training. Don't know how well he's training, how well he's feeling. All those things are still question marks. It very well could be Diop again in goal for the LA Galaxy, but it should be A-team rock and roll for everybody else.
You would think so. I don't even know if Vancouver has a quote-unquote A-team. You talk about 4 games in a row losing. You might have to flip what you think about them and who their players are a little bit on top of their head, or at least look at getting some other guys. I mean, you go through a rough patch of 4 losses in a row in league play. I think it's about time to bring in some other bodies.
Well, they're going to have
people that we're used to people that we're used to seeing when they experienced a lot of their success last year. Just simply haven't been able to get the job done. Always fun to see Blas Perez come into town. I know everybody enjoys that experience.
And Nigel de Jong got a red card the last 2 time he got to go up against Blas Perez, if you'll remember that, and also got suspended an additional game as well.
And then we've got the Lava Challenge from earlier this spring.
That was a red card.
Mike McGee.
Yep. So
you've got Kendall Waston, who is, I think he's a Costa Rican international. That's good for a red card, a couple red cards every season. So
Corey, we have a chance to have something that is just amazing. We could have a de Jong versus a de Jong. All right.
Ooh, the Marcel.
So de Jong plays. Obviously, you have Nigel de Jong, and then you have. Let's see, where is de Jong? Yeah, Marcel de Jong. There he is, number 33, plays defense.
On de Jong crime. I expect to see a little bit of that.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. The interesting news out of the disciplinary committee is that Christian Bolaños is suspended for this game, so he's out. You have Kakuta Mane had right foot surgery. He's out. So you're not going to see them. You get Blas Perez, you get Giles Barnes, who came in from Houston. You get, Jacobson, you get Morales, you get some of these guys who you're used to seeing, but like you said, they haven't been getting a lot out of these guys. You do get Wendy's favorite goalkeeper, Pat Ousted, by the way. She loves some Ousted. Pat Ousted. She loves herself some Ousted, so he'll be playing there. But anyway, this is a game for the LA Galaxy to get back on track. I was very pessimistic going into the Chicago game because of everything that we saw from the LA Galaxy. I enjoyed some of the offensive output you got from somebody like Gyasi Zardes, who scored a goal. Stuff like that can go a long way. You get Giovani dos Santos, who scores a goal. Those two guys, I'm looking to have big impacts in this game, and I want to see some vertical runs that unlock this defense on Vancouver, because they've been struggling. And I watched the Sporting Kansas City game where they had A-team versus A-team, and they got unlocked easily by Sporting Kansas City, once on a set piece, another one on, I think, a rebound that bounced back out. So there are ways for this LA Galaxy team to take advantage of Vancouver, and I expect 3 points.
Sure. Do you think that there's anything to the fact of certain teams have other teams' numbers? I mean, one of the stats that you listed on the show notes is Galaxy are 9-1-2 against Vancouver over the 12 meetings.
Yeah, there is. There's two sides to that, though, always, right? There are some teams just have some teams' numbers, and then there's always eventually that's got to even itself out, right? Like, eventually that's got to work its way back towards
the mean.
Yeah, it's got to come back to the middle there. So, I mean, does Vancouver, the LA, like I said, Vancouver had never won in Carson before last year. So do they get a win in Carson this year again? It's got to start happening. And the LA Galaxy haven't lost at home. So if you're counting on Vancouver to beat the LA Galaxy, I guess that's the long play in Vegas, if that's the one you want to go with. But for the most part, when the LA Galaxy...
I've seen a lot of old broke men go with the long play in Vegas.
That's right.
Sportsbooks there.
I got a tip. I guarantee it's coming through.
It can't be another black.
That's right. It's not going to... Yeah, I've done that one too. Yeah, guilty of that one. It's been black 7 times in a row. It's going to be red, except for that 8th time and the 9th time. All right. Anything else, Corey, or you think we're good?
No, I mean, I think we're good. I think once we get in the next 2 weeks, we're going to start to see Bruce really cut down on his lineup choices, and then you can start to pass a little bit more judgment in terms of the type of team we can expect to see for the home stretch. But until then, I'm going to reserve my judgment a little bit on, don't freak out too much about long-term prospects of this team. We don't quite know where this team is headed. So it's funny to say towards the end of August, but be patient, and I think by the end of September you'll have a much clearer picture of what we're going to see with this team.
All right, Corey, tell everybody where they can find you.
Find me on Twitter at Cory Ritzau, CoryRitzau.
All right, if you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at Guesman, JGUESMAN. And of course, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com, where you can get all sorts of awesome buttons, stickers, magnets, all that fun stuff is right there on our shop, cornerofthegalaxy.com/shop, and watch all of our live shows on YouTube, cornerofthegalaxy.com/live for all the live show information. All right, LA Galaxy versus the Vancouver Whitecaps at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday. We expect to see everybody out there. I'll be there. Hope to see you there too. LA Galaxy versus Vancouver Whitecaps, Saturday. All right, for Cory Ritzau, I'm Josh Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. And for all of your independent LA Galaxy news, discussion, and entertainment, including this podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Fans, thanks for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.